Welcome, everyone. Thank you for tuning in today. Our special guest today is Christoph Künzli of Le Piane estate in Boca in Alto Piemonte. Christoph, how are you today?
Well, hello to everybody in Chicago and all the US. I hope you are well. We are in the vineyards, so it's a very nice time to be in the vineyards at the moment. All the plants are really getting, they're pushing a lot. So it's a nice time to be here in June. Yeah.
That's great. Now, we've met several times. I visited you at your estate, but it's probably been about 5 or 6 years. But it's definitely one of the most special stories, not only in Piemonte, but in all of Italy. So we have a full hour today. So let's talk a little bit about the history. I mean, you're in an area in Alto Piemonte, in a small village called Boca. And I'm going to put up a picture here off your website, which shows some of the vineyards around Boca. And I remember you telling me that back in the 1920s and 30s, that Alto Piemonte was just a thriving wine community.
No. Yeah, it's it is actually an incredible story here, hardly to believe, because the story tells us that the northern Piedmont was the biggest, the most advanced viticulture area in Italy. Much before Barolo came up, or Chianti, or Brunello, or other regions. They were very famous even in the 7th and 18th century. If I tell you that Thomas Jefferson, for example, who always liked wine a lot, he ordered from Italy only the Nebbiolo, and it came from not Boca, from maybe Gattinara or Lessona, but still from the northern Piedmont.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's and so you see, Thomas Jefferson wrote about this Nebbiolo, and he liked them, and the big story we have in a way which proves how big and how important the northern Piedmont was, is actually Camillo Cavour, the first prime minister in Italy. He was an incredible wine lover, and his home is in Barolo. He came from Barolo. He had big estates there,
right.
And when he was young, he ran these estates in around Barolo, and he was very interested in wine always. So he always went around and looked around, and then there is a letter which proves everything what I tell now, because he says, "I'm often in the northern Piedmont with a friend, and there I always drink this incredible fine Nebbiolo wines." Okay. And to his friend he tells, "I can tell you that these are the only wine in Italy which can compete with my favorite wines, France, of course." But then he tells, "But I don't mean the Bordeaux, the bouquet which have Bordeaux, but they are very near to the expression of Burgundy." Okay. And there it comes to my mind Clos de Vougeot and Romanée. He tells this, and it's very funny. In a way, he gets really that our wines are very fine, very elegant. They are really near a little bit to the Burgundy style, much more to Bordeaux, of course. And he got this, and he liked these wines. Then he tells to his friend, "I want to know if this Nebbiolo, which gives so good results in the north of Piedmont, if I could do some plants down in Barolo, where I live, where I have my land, and make better wines there," he tells, And that was in 1845 when he wrote this letter. So can you imagine, to make better wines there? And he did it. He planted the first vineyards in Barolo in the 40s, 1840.
That's right.
And he started to make Barolo. And in a way, he is the founder of the modern Barolo. And he took also an enologist from France, from Burgundy, to study the cellar technology for this new wine in Barolo. And we can really, and it's proof that Cavour was in a way the founder, not only of Italy, because he was the architect of this new country, Italy, right. The first prime minister, but he also had the idea to make in Barolo Nebbiolo. But I always tell, in a way, we are the original region where Nebbiolo was always there, and it was very famous. So, and when you showed this picture before with these vineyards in the 20s and 30s, maybe you get back to this. It's quite amazing because the whole hillside of the Alps, they were covered with vineyards. Huge extensions. We speak about 15,000 hectares. Actually, this picture which you see now, you see this big church which is just down here. After you can see it through the forest. This big church in Boca, surrounded by vineyards. You see, there is nothing else than vineyards, and it's quite amazing if you can go back to the camera. I show you how it's now. This area here, and you will see a lot of forest. So let's see a bit how it's. You see here. You see one of the first vineyard we planted in '98. So it was the start of my work here. Here it was forest before, and you see in the background everywhere is forest. Yes. This big church would be in the middle, in the direction you don't see it anymore, because it's in deep forest. So that was what happened in all northern Piedmont, but in Boca the most, because we are very high hillside, very steep hills, sometimes difficult to make vineyards. So they were the first regions which were abandoned in the 50s, when winemaking was not really the good thing, because you could do good wine and then it was no value, in money. So, and the upcoming industry just nearby, textile industry and the big other industries in the region, they put away all the people. They went away in very few time. In 5 years, in the 50s, they went away. Or they stayed here, but they worked in another place. It was, in a way, easier, I always tell, to go to the factories than to the vineyard. It was less time even. Okay. Right. So, and this was the end of the whole region. And Boca, the most. When I came here, first time, it was in the end of the 80s. There were no real producer left. No
and you're from
producer.
People should realize you're from Switzerland. You're not an Italian. So
yeah. I came from Switzerland by good or bad chance. I never know if it was good luck or bad luck to come here.
Right.
But I was imported in Switzerland of wine, specialized on Italian wine, and I always went around in Italy to see new areas, to learn about wine. And one day I was in Boca, and I knew an old producer in this area. He was the last producer, Antonio Cerri, and he did incredible wines. And I drank these wines, and I thought, oh, this is amazing. These are great wines. Here you see him with his nice face, with his wife, in front of his cellar, which is, by the way, still our cellar. We find the same cellar as him. And my story is very, very connected with this Antonio Cerri, because I bought from him, from the family. He died in '97, and I bought after his cellar, his old bottles, his vineyard, his little vineyard of half a hectare. And it was somehow the base of Le Piane. After that, I looked around in Boca to get other land, which was forest. It was not vineyard, because here, when I came, there were 10 hectares left, 24 acres left in the whole region, from thousands in the 30s.
Right. Wow.
And so it was really difficult to start, because you had to get together all the land. There were small parcels, different owners, private owners. Sometimes I didn't find them because they emigrated to Switzerland or to Argentina. To France, and I put together then, like a puzzle, our estate to make new vineyards out from the forest, cut the trees, deforest everything, and make new vineyards. And now we have 10 hectares, and we are far the biggest estate in Boca, which sounds very strange, but it's true. It's a small winery, but we are far the biggest estate here. So there are now 12 producers, other young people. They followed my start. And now we are a good group of producers here, and Boca is really been returning on the map of the things. Yeah. Here, by the way, you see the first vineyard planted in '98. You see on the top you see the vineyard of Cherry, the original Cherry vineyard which we took, and then down this longer piece, new vineyard, where I sit really on in top of this vineyard. It's the first vineyard planted by us in '98. So that was the start of everything. And you see also in these pictures, there's a lot of forest around. We are our vineyards are totally in the forest now, which was not the case in the 30s, of course.
Right. Now, I have to ask you, you told me a funny story one time, because I interviewed you for my book that was printed a couple years ago, but Wines and Foods of Piemonte. There's my book.
Yeah.
And you had said people up there when you moved in, this is almost 20 years ago or so, they didn't really have a lot of confidence that the wines there were very good. And they said, wait a minute, here you are coming from Switzerland, and you're going to Boca, you're not going to Barolo. And it's like, first of all, you're from Switzerland, you have all the money, right? Everybody in Switzerland is rich. You have all the money. Why aren't you in Barolo?
Yeah, that's really the funny things. But anyway, you see a lot of prejudice, of course, because first of all, not every Swiss is rich. So, but anyway, I put all my money together to make this project with some other people, by the way. But why I'm here, for me, I knew Barolo very well before. And I like, of course, like everybody, I like a lot Barolo Barbaresco. But I can tell you, I really fell in love when I tasted the Nebbiolos from here, because somehow it was a Nebbiolo which I really like, because it's the most elegant, the most fine expression of Nebbiolo, very perfumed, very light, in a way light-bodied, but very concentrated, very austere. So wines which you can get 40 years in your cellar to age, but they are always very drinkable, very easy going, never too bold, not too much alcohol. In a way, times of now where we have problems of the climate warming, we are in the perfect situation. We have really never this overpowered wine, which if you go to Chianti or even in Barolo, they have much more problems now to have 15, 16 degrees of alcohol, and then it's a bit a problem. So for me, it was really a dream to see these wines from this old man and to remake these wines. That's what I do. I try since 20 years. I hope better and better. And it's very strange. And that you see the how this region of Northern Piedmont was very down. When 20 years ago, when I came here, nobody was motivated to make any wine anymore. Right. It was really the end. Also, the bigger estates which were in the region, like Catinara and Gemme, which there are some more production, but also these people, they were not really motivated to make wine, because they always look to Barolo. They have high prices, everything goes well. The cellars are always empty, and we struggle with even the more difficult situations. The Nebbiolo here is a bit more difficult to make because it's a bit colder. We have hillsides and so, but and people really were a bit, why I'm doing this, and they were, and that's why they ask me always, why you come to Boca, and I always tell them, because it's a great region. You don't know, you should know it. You are producer here, so you should know that it's a great region. And then they tell, yeah, of course it would be, but it's not working. And somehow I gave in the region with my approach, I gave some motivation to all these young people, also to the people who had bigger estates, because they immediately realized that if a Swiss if a Swiss comes here and he doesn't go to Barolo, maybe we have overseas something, you know, maybe we don't understand the quality anymore. And they are much more focused and much more proud what they do here. And I think Northern Piedmont, Alto Piemonte is really coming up at the whole. You see much more now. Lessona, Gattinara, Boca, Gemme, all these wines are a bit more in the market, and they are very fine, very good. So it's really changed. But I can tell you, 20 years ago, it was really dramatic and a bit sad, and also really everybody was really down. It was nobody had hope that something getting better here.
Yeah, well, it's nice to see that that's changed, and you certainly have had a lot to do with that. So that's, so thank you for all of us that love Boca and everything else. And before we walk through the vineyards, we'll talk specifically about the wines, but it should be noted too that Boca, of course, is not 100% Nebbiolo as Barolo, Barbaresco, but it's blended, and it's required that you blend, correct?
Yeah. Maybe I move myself a bit to see the bottles, so I can explain a little bit our line up.
All right, great.
You see here, by the way, you see the bottles in front, and then in background you see this first vineyard planted in '98.
Is it vineyard all Nebbiolo, or is there some Croatina? Or?
No, the Boca wine, which is the blue label, which is our top wine of Nebbiolo and Vespolina. It has to be from 3 grapes, Nebbiolo, Vespolina, and Uvarara.
Okay.
But it has to be Nebbiolo at least 70%. In our case, it's 85%. And then you can put or Vespolina or Uvarara or both. The rest. We don't use a lot this Uvarara because I think it's a grape which doesn't go so well in Boca. I use 15% in our blend is Vespolina, which is a great grape, a very nice old varietal of our region. By the way, connected with Nebbiolo. It seems the mother or the cousin of Nebbiolo.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. So, and it gives, in a way, it completes the Nebbiolo in our region, giving to the wine spiciness, a lot of spice, flower notes, like a bit honey, with this idea of honey and flowers, and a little bit of body also, which is a bit needed sometimes because our wines are more austere than Barolo. So a little more body from the Vespolina completes really our wines. And I think in Boca it's very important to use this Vespolina in the blend, which we have to do because it's in the law like this. Right. And I think it's right. It's really the right thing.
And so, is the Vespolina, as far as acidity, how does that compare with Nebbiolo?
As a grape, yes. How is it? It's very strange. It seems very different when you see the grape. It has small bunches. The berries are very small, oval. The Nebbiolo has big bunches, long bunches. The leaves are very big of the Nebbiolo. The Vespolina has very small leaves, a bit wild. They go everywhere. So you see, it can't be a relative of Nebbiolo. And by the way, joking, I told to ampelographist in Turin, Anna Schneider, a very famous ampelographist. She's very famous to recognize all these varietals, and she did a lot of work on that. And I asked her once, but tell me that Vespolina and Nebbiolo, they are totally different. How they can be relatives? And she was laughing and told me, "Are you like your brother?" I told, "Oh no, of course, my brother is totally different." And everybody tells sometimes that we are not from the same parents. Right. So you told, yeah, that's the same for grapes. But then, and then she was really thrilled about it. I told her, but if when you put the wines together, you make one batch of Vespolina and one of Nebbiolo, you put the wine together, they fit together like brother and sisters. Okay. And she told, this is interesting. Yeah, that's true. And so in a way, maybe it's really they are very near somehow. When you blend them together, you see that they are the same origin. Even they are very, very different, but they fit very well together. So they are from the same family, which is not the case for the Croatina grape.
Okay.
Yeah, by the way, if you see this vineyard here, it's the first hectare planted in 98.
Right.
In all our new vineyards, we planted always Nebbiolo and Vespolina on the same field to make in future, we could make also a single vineyard Boca. That's the idea behind. At the moment, we don't do it, but who knows in future?
Sure.
If some position is very special, maybe we can do a special barrel from this. And then we have it on our field. We have always both in the same field, so we can do a single vineyard Boca. And then, yeah, now if I go to the Croatina and you see here the brown label, the fourth wine, it's named Piane. This wine is actually the expression of Croatina in this region. We have this grape Croatina, which is really very nice in the old vineyards of Boca, which are trained in a very different way. Maybe after we try to get some photos of. And we make a selection of old vineyards, means 100 years old vineyards. The last vineyards we found in this region. It's a selection of Croatina with a hint of Vespolina. And this is a totally different wine from Boca. It's more bold, it's more color, it's more tannins in a way, less acidity, but a very powerful wine, which I always tell it goes very well with red meat and game. The Boca, a very fine wine, goes very well with braised meat and white birds and white meat. So they are very, very different. And it's very nice to have two expressions of Boca in our cellar, which are totally different. And then we have the between of them, the Mimmo, which you see the yellow label.
Right.
Mimmo. And this is, in a way, the old blend which they always use. Then here we have Nebbiolo, Vespolina, and Croatina, the three together. It's a very, Nebbiolo is 70%, so it's very Nebbiolo-like wine, very elegant, fine, but a bit easier drinking than Boca, which you should leave for a long time in the cellar. Mimmo you can drink after 4 or 5 years, and it's a very, very fine wine. And then...
before we go on to the next wine, I have a question
yeah.
from one of the people watching, Lars Light, regarding Croatina. And he says, is the Croatina you use the same that's sometimes used in Verona?
Yes, that's right. They have it in the Amarone region. They have also Croatina sometimes. This is true.
Okay.
Because and they make this very powerful wines. But they have also Rodinella and Corvina and other grapes. But
yes.
Croatina is very spread over in Verona. That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And then in Oltrepò Pavese, this is the name of Bonarda. In Oltrepò Pavese, you have these wines which are named Bonarda. This is also Croatina.
Okay.
So yeah.
No, I saw a bottle of your white there, which I remember you telling me you were going to produce it. Well, I haven't tried it yet, but that's
this is a bit the wine which has not yet found the way over the Atlantic because
right.
we have not we have not enough yet, and so we only sell it in Italy at the moment. But maybe next year we can open also some other markets. It's actually Erbaluce, which is our white varietal which we have in our fields. Not a lot, and that's why we can't do a lot, but we are planting now new vineyards for that. It's a very interesting wine which has a really very mineral aspects, very long finish. It's a quite structured white wine, which can cope with very good food, with fish and everything, no problem.
Okay.
And I do it since the 15 vintage. I started to make experience on that, to make experiments and so. And now the 18 is the first bigger quantity, not really, 3,000 bottles, and they are sold out in Italy in 1 month. So it's nothing. Yeah,
what's the current? I'm sorry.
Very
what is the current release?
The 2018.
18. Okay.
Yeah, 18. I leave this wine in big barrels for 1 year, and then I bottle it. So it's always 1 year of aging on the lees. Also, that the whole year I leave it on the lees, and then it goes to the bottle.
Steel? Is it fermented in steel or cement?
No, all in big barrels.
Big barrels. Okay.
Yeah, big barrels. Yeah. Also the fermented, and then stay the whole year on the lees.
Okay.
But it's a very structured wine. Very interesting. Yeah. Anyway.
And the last on the right.
And then we have the green. We have the green label, the second wine.
Right.
This is a bit our how to say the very original wine from Boca, because it comes from old vineyards in Boca, and these old vineyards have not only Cratina but a lot of different grapes. There are 13 varietals. There's also Erbaluce, there is Uvarara, there's Nebbiolo, there is Barbera, and then there are varietals which you would never have heard from. It's Larina, Durasa, Paratuchat. It's really strange names. Yeah, and what I do there is to make a field blend. Really make the harvest all together, put all the things together, and ferment it. And this is the very simple Majorina wine. Lower alcohol, it's 12.5, 13%. A very, very nice wine for every day. So this is a bit our range. Yeah.
I'm going to put up a picture of the older vines in the Majorina system, and if you could talk about that, because that's something that I've not seen anywhere else in the world.
Oh yeah, that's great. Yeah, if that's what I wanted. These are the Majorina vineyards. And you see, these are very, very old vineyards of 100 years. And they're trellised in a very original style, which comes from Roman times. Because the Romans, they always used real trees as poles. And that's why they always planted the vineyards, the vines in the middle. And the poles, they couldn't put where the vines were, because they were real trees. So you can't put a vine together with a tree. So they put the trees 1 meter or distant, making this square, and they put the vines so up like little trees in a way. After in time, these trees, they get poles, but they left the system in a way. Now they are poles. And in the region, they tell me, old people sometimes tell, they are not poles, but they are dead trees. When I heard this, I thought it's incredible, because they've always to remember of the still Roman times when they were trees. Now they are dead trees.
Okay.
So and in these fields you have all these 13 varietals, which we pick together, and this is a really an amazing thing. These vineyards are worked all by hand. There's no machinery.
You could never do machine, right.
Yeah, so it's big work, but it's very nice. We have 100 years old vines which give amazing results. So that's why we keep them.
Is the ripening on this system, is it a little bit later than like with the Guion system?
It's the same. It's kind of it's the same. That doesn't make a difference. And there is a lot of also the yields are the same. If you don't make too much, we are only making not much grapes on a vine. So they are in a way that the same kind, but different to cope with. That's what the working is very different.
Okay.
Of course.
And is there some Nebbiolo planted on the system as well, or is it just Cratina?
Yeah. Okay. No, you find Nebbiolo quite a lot, and Cratina mostly, and then Vespolina, Uvarara, all these. But I would say mostly there is Cratina, Nebbiolo, and Vespolina. The three are always a bit predominant, and then all the others.
It's just fascinating to see that. I mean, you don't see it anywhere else in the world, but and it almost looks like sand there for the soil, but it's not sand.
That's what I didn't tell you. Yeah, that's very important. That our soil is really amazing because it's a very old volcano, which was in this region, and then it came up. This was destroyed, and then it went under the seaside, and then with the Alps it came up, and we are in the hotspot of the material of this volcano. It's in a way gravel, sand, stones, which degrade on surface. They are really sandy, but in a way it's like little crystals. It's like reddish porphyric. It means. Yeah, porphyric. If you get back, I show you a bit from near how these stones are.
Please. Okay.
So. You see, this is the wall which we built with these stones, and you see how they are. There's a lot of minerals in, very rich.
Reddish purple. Yeah.
So and this gives in our wine this very big savory, salty mineral character, which is very typical for Boca. And I think this is one thing which I like a lot.
Great.
So,
one thing I thought of, I don't want, so we don't get too far ahead of ourselves, but I'm sure many of the people watching, whether it's today or later on in the recording, but can you tell people exactly where Boca is? What is the nearest large city to Boca?
Yeah, of course. It's in a way, if you go to Italy, there's the big Alps, of course, which make the border to Switzerland, where I come from. Okay. When you go on the southern part of the Alps, it's the finish of the Alps, where the Alps finishes, the last hillsides, and then you have the Po Valley. And from us, it's not even 1 hour to Milan. So we are, in a way, northwest from Milan, but more to Milan than Turin. In a way, it seems more Lombardy than Piedmont. We are near the lake area. I think maybe you know Lago Maggiore, Lago d'Orta are in 20 minutes drive. So we are in this very nice area where you have a lot of these lakes. And this makes the climate very, very temperate. We have, by the way, the winters are here very mild. We have no snow normally.
Really?
In Barolo, it's strange. Barolo is more southern, but sometimes when you go from here, they have 1 meter of snow. We have nothing here. But vice versa. In summer, here it's a bit cooler because we have these big Alps in our back, which cool down a little bit the climate. We have always the wind coming from the Alps. In Barolo, it's much hotter. And that makes also very different wines, of course. So that's right. the difference of our sites. And then the soil, which in our case is volcanic. In Barolo, it's chalk. So very different soil for the wines. And that makes that Nebbiolo in every region is so different, which makes it so interesting also. It's really distinctive. You can really follow, and even in northern Piedmont, Gattinara, Gemme, Boca, they are a bit different because our soil is not the same. It's everything a bit changing. So that's the situation. Okay.
Did you want to walk through the vineyards more, or should we just talk about the wines?
I show you a bit. Okay. Actually, we have a very, very nice, a very early spring this year. So the wines were very ahead in when they came up. And now they are just flowering or just finished flowering. I show you maybe, I don't know if you see it. You see maybe the grape?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, this little grape. And you see the little berries, they are like peppercorns now. Yes. And now they are starting to grow. So this is the stage, I would say 1 week ago, there was the flowering, and now they are like this. And then they grow in 1 month, they grow to the bigger berries. And then they start to ripe. And so it's the cycle of of the vineyards.
Right.
You see a very nice, healthy leaves, very nice green atmosphere. We work all our vineyards. We don't put any how to say what is it?
Cover crop or?
Yeah, we always let the grass in, the plants in, to have biodiversity. We never do any chemicals to put away the grass, which is very important. So we have insects, we have a lot of different biodiversity in our fields, which help the plants to be more healthy. Yes. So and you see it's a very natural atmosphere in our estate. And then surrounded by these nice forests everywhere. Right. I show you another little detail.
What elevation are you here?
Hmm?
What's the elevation here?
The elevation in this vineyard, I'm now on 450 meters. And from here it goes upwards. You see it behind here, uphill, to 550 meters. Okay. So it's quite hillside. It's so very nice like this. You see a little in this first vineyard we planted in '98. An artist from Boca. He made this little artworks, and they're very nice. They're on some poles. He put these artworks, and there is always some poems of nature, of wine. And then always a little animal up there, which is looking that everything goes well. So
that's good.
It's a very nice little thing. Yeah. So okay.
Wonderful, and I have to compliment you on the connection here. It's just been great. It's not always so great.
Yeah, really.
Different countries, but this is just the audio. The video is just great. So thank you.
Yeah, this is what I decided during this Corona times. I thought now you have to put in order your Wi-Fi that we can do these things better, because in the end it's very nice to be near where we work in a way. I come sometimes to US, of course. I traveled. My last travel was in February, just before lockdown. Right. and it will be my last this year for sure. So
I can imagine.
Maybe I don't make so many trips anymore and use more this system in future, which in a way works quite well. It's not a bad thing.
I mean, there's nothing like being there, but it's like you said, there's not much we can do right now about traveling. So, and this opportunity has come up, so it has worked well. So, let's talk a little bit about Boca, about the wine itself now. And people should know, if you go on the website, there are tasting notes all the way back to 1999, which is just great to have that kind of treasury. But tell us about the wine, the normal blend, and the latest vintages.
Yeah, about the cellar and everything also. Yeah, it's when I came here, I had these big examples of this wine of Cherry, Antonio Cherry. He made wines his wines are amazing. It's really hard to believe, because when you saw his cellar, he was 80 years old when I knew him. His cellar was the most simple cellar I knew before. Really? There was no technology. I always tell, he had a water pipe for cold water, not even warm water, not hot water. And he had a little pump to move the wine. And then big barrels, and that was it. Nothing else. A distemmer, a very old distemmer, and this barrel. So you can think it was a winery like 200 years ago. It could have existed, and somehow his wines are really amazing. When you drink these wines, and we have them from the vintage 47 to 91, we have all his great vintages in our cellar now, and we taste them sometimes. We open them sometimes. And they are amazing. They are all fresh. They are all drinkable. They are all still good wine. And
we had dinner one time. I'm sorry. Yeah. And you brought out an older one, and I don't remember the vintage if it was 78 or 85 or whatever it was, but you brought out several. But there was one in particular you said, now it may taste and smell a little funny at first, but come back to it in 20
Yeah,
minutes. And
yeah,
it was amazing how the wine had
yeah.
changed.
Yeah, of course, like old wines, sometimes, you know, they are closed in the bottle for a long time. Then they need a lot of air, but they get very, very fresh after. It's amazing. Yeah, 85 is an incredible vintage, and 71, 61, 50, amazing wines. So when I started, we took over his vineyard, and I looked very well what he had in his vineyard, and I saw that he had Nebbiolo, Vespolina, and very, very little Uvarara. So what I did is to make an identical copy in the new fields. We planted the same amount of Nebbiolo and Vespolina and very, very, very little Uvarara. Because I in a way, I told not to move away from what he did, not change anything. The most possible, keep this heritage. And I did the same also in the cellar. Sometimes I tell, you know, we were always short of money because this project is so long term,
Right.
and you always think, yeah, maybe now it's better, but then you have to invest again. And it was a 10 years only investment to get to the first wine to sell. So it
Wow.
was a nightmare sometimes,
Wow.
and always struggling to have enough money. And so, but I always tell, sometimes it's very good to have not enough money, because then you have more ideas
You're more creative.
what to do,
right.
and sometimes you don't do things which you would do with money, and that's much better. So in a way, sometimes when I was tempted, you know, to make something new, technology or so, I thought, no, Antonio Cerri had none of this. His wines were good, so why I have to have it? So in the end, if you come now to my cellar, you will have not only cold water, but also hot water. That's a big difference.
Aha.
Then you see a very, very good pump. The best of the pumps that exist in the peristaltic pumps, which are very, very soft, which is important. A very good distemmer. And then big barrels, where we leave our wine, the Boca, 4 years before the bottling. In a way, the same what Antonio Cerri did. And it means, and the wine comes out because we do a big work in vineyard. We do the harvest is very, very selective. We do a lot of selection in the fields. Means that every bunch which we cut, we look if there are berries which are not okay, and we pick the berries out, and only the good grapes come to the cellar. So we can do a very, very simple way to make wine, like Cerri. It's the same. He was very selective, and we do the same. And so when the grapes arrive in the cellar, I ferment them in big barrels of wood, open top barrels. We destem the Nebbiolo because the stems are green in the Nebbiolo, so we don't need these harsh tannins. We put the skin and the juice in these open top barrels, punch down by hand every day once with sticks the skins to the liquid, and then we let the whole thing macerate 40 days, more than 1 month. The juice and the wine is together with the skins. After, we press with a very normal basket press, old-fashioned, nothing special, and the press wine together with the free flow wine goes immediately to the big barrels. Okay. And there it stays. So it's in the wooden barrel before, it goes to the wooden barrel after, and there it stays 4 years, some racking, and that's it. So very, very simple way to do wine. And so we keep really the terroir, the fruit, the good fruit of our vineyards. We get in the bottles after. Okay. And the nice thing, and then you have why we put in our internet 299, the first vintage I did, because we have still some bottles, not for sales, but for sure. If you come to Boca, sometimes we open these old bottles, or okay, if somebody comes, we use these bottles to show how our wines are ripening well. And I can tell you that 10 years is nothing for our wine. So I would never touch a Boca before 10 years old. We are now drinking the 9, which is amazing. And the 11 is coming up in very, very good shape now. But 13, keep it there. Don't touch it.
Yeah.
The 16, of course not, and so on. And the older vintages, 299, they are really all in good shape. They are very fresh, very nice, very elegant, nice to drink as yet. So
is the 16 the current release?
Yeah, 16 is the current release. We just released it now after 4 years. Normally, we release the wine.
So that you're on sort of the same schedule as Barolo. I mean, you can compare it that way.
3, 4 years. Yeah,
okay.
3, 4 years. 3 years it has to be in the cellar.
Okay.
We leave it 1 year more because I think that time is very important for wine.
Let me ask you also, because your background is as a wine importer. So how did you learn all about planting vineyards and making wine and
yeah, it's all autodidact. That's true. I had the good chance to know a lot of producers, of course, because I went around in Italy, in France, a lot of in Austria, everywhere in the world. And I was always, because I'm a trained engineer. Very long time ago, I learned in construction engineer, and somehow I was always interested in technique in a way, even if I don't use that. But there's a lot of technique which you have to know in vineyards, in the cellar, everywhere.
Right.
And I was always interested in, not only in the commercial point, but I have always, with the producers where I brought the wine in to Switzerland, I always asked them, how are you doing this? And how is the wine tasting after 1 year? And to show me. And I learned a lot by doing in this way. In a way, I learned in these wineries how the wine taste is in every stage, what you do, what is malolactic, what you have to look at the barrels, and so on. And then, of course, I did, and I can tell you a little bit, I did hobbystic wine even before. I was in Tuscany. I had a little field that I did every year some wine there. And then in 99, I started really in Boca. So I had a background. I knew what is the wine. But okay. I think it's very important. And, I'm not an enologist, and sometimes maybe I'm missing some technologies which are avant-garde. But as you know, our wines are very classic, very austere, very so I don't use that a lot. And for me, I think it's very important to have taste. You have to have a very trained taste. You have to drink a lot of wines from the world, and I have this background. I know French wines, I know Austrian wines, I know also Californian wines. Everything I drink with interest, and that helps a lot to have to know what your wine is, to understand, which doesn't mean you make a copy of something, but you know much better what is your wine like, where it stands, stands it like between the great wine Barolo, Pinot Noir, Burgundy like the Boca, or in case of Maggiorina, it's a simple crispy wine which stands near a Beaujolais maybe, And I think it's very important in the cellar when you make wine from different grapes to understand what is this wine in this barrel, what he wants to be and what he can be, And
right.
For this you need taste. You need to have tasted a lot of wine. Experience of tasting is very important. So because in the end we make wine not as like in a chemical laboratory, we make it to drink. So in a way our taste is the most important, nose and taste. And when the wine is good, you don't have to make anything, but you have to know when the taste is good, and when it is wrong, you have maybe to make something, maybe a little wrecking or something.
Right.
But so it's very important to follow your wine very strictly with your senses, which means especially nose and taste and palate, but also the color. Of course, the eye is very important because it tells us a lot. And I can tell you, even the ears sometimes you use to control when wines make something, they make bubbles. And sometimes I go to the cellar to hear which barrel makes some bubbles. So I know that this barrel is still doing something. So it's better not to touch, you know. When the wines want to move, then don't touch them.
Okay.
So we have to use all our senses. That's very important.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, you've had great success critically, really everywhere, but especially in Italy. I know that when I've talked to you, you've done a number of tastings for some of the Italian sommeliers and things, and that I imagine it was probably kind of an eye-opening experience for them. Do you want to talk a little bit about how the reaction of the sommeliers and the wine buyers in Italy? And
it was very, very nice how, in a way, they welcomed me in Italy. Also in Boca, I have to tell, I have never felt invidious here, because maybe it was too long these vineyards were gone. And when I came, they were a bit surprised first, of course, but then they told, oh, nice that somebody does it, because yes, our father and our grandfather, they did great wines here. We know it, but we forgot it a little bit. So they were very positive in our project, and the same in the sommelier. I remember well, we had the first visits of Cambro Rosso and the ICE sommelier in association in Italy. They came in 2002, 2003 first time, when we came out with the first wine 99.
Okay.
And they were immediately interested. So, oh, there is somebody who doing something in Boca. That's amazing. We know Boca only from the books, but never anymore as a serious wine. And so they followed very well our project. They liked our wines. They are very critical, which I like. And we built up a really good relation with all these guides, which they gave us always the best scores, but not because we pay them, because we never pay any journalist. But they are really very, very happy that Boca, which is an old Italian wine region, very famous wine region, that it comes up. So in a way, it was the 2004 vintage when we had a big the ICE sommelier told it's the best of the 10 wines of Italy, and and in a way it was really also to tell us we are very proud that somebody did Boca, and that's why they write always the Swiss who really who remade Boca.
Right.
So
it wasn't an Italian; it was somebody from Switzerland.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So some people, and that's very funny. We have one little supplier of grapes in the same region of Boca. It's a young. He wanted to plant some vines, and then we told, do a bit more. We need also some grapes sometimes, and we have now 20 years of collaboration together.
That's great.
And it was very funny that he told after 10 years that we were good friends, and then and then collaborating together. He told me in the 10 years anniversary, he told me, I know we are. I know what you do, and we are good friends. So the only thing I can't get down, that you are Swiss. and I laughed and told, what's bad about Swiss? Is it such a big? It's a bad. It's a bad country or so. And they told, no, I told it wrong, but that we didn't get the idea that we need a Swiss to get us to our vineyards back. And in a way, he was a bit ashamed. It was more that, he thought, why we needed a Swiss to show us that this wine is good,
Right.
And I told him, that's very normal in the world. I think in all kind of what you do, it's very important, culture, deep culture, the history and everything. But it's also very important sometimes that somebody comes from somewhere, sees the potential of something which maybe people around don't see anymore, because for them it's so normal. For me, it was not normal. And then I always say, and they open the windows and let fresh new wind in. And that's what I did in a way. It's nothing else what I did. I opened the windows of Boca to the world, and producers told, oh, this is a good wind, so we can go also with our and we plant some wines. And so in a way, but it's very funny what he told, and it's a bit typical that he was ashamed, really. Why they are near and they never did it, And then a Swiss comes and he does it. So.
I get the feeling with all these stories that you tell about the Italians that 50 years from now, they're going to say, well, he was a great winemaker, a great a producer, but he was Swiss.
Yeah. It will be like this for sure. That will be in books always. That I'm Swiss is very important.
Right. And just we have a few minutes left. Just as far as you finding export markets, I imagine that must be a very long, elaborate story. I mean, it's something fresh. There's always people looking for new things, but how many people around the world have heard of Boca? So I imagine that must be a very difficult, demanding
it was
process.
When I started, I was convinced that we can do really very good wines here, and I thought, when you do good wines, then you sell them. But this is not true, and I had to learn that you can do the best wine in the world. If nobody knows it, you don't sell.
Right.
And that was a bit, I underestimated a little bit this point. Not too much. I knew it would be difficult, but it was in the end quite difficult. We started in 2008 when it was the big crisis. Also, it was the worst point, of course, to come up with the first wines, because in 2008 we came out with 2004, which was the first vintage where we had a little bit more bottles, 8,000 bottles of Boca, and so we could start really markets, and it was very, very tough because nobody knew it and nobody was interested. But then, and the compliments to the US. For me, US was always the first markets, because you are very curious, and that's a very good thing. To be curious, we need it, The problem sometimes here in Italy also it was okay because they knew a little from the books. But when I went first time to Switzerland with our wines, they tell, oh, we don't need these wines. We know Barolo. Barolo are the great Nebbiolos. We don't need other things,
Right.
And US was very different because here the first importers, they came in 2007, 8, 9 from New York, from California. And I saw, and they came here because they heard it from somewhere. And they made the travel here, and I knew when you come here, then you are lost. You will take it, and they are curious, and they know that if they don't do it, the next importer will be around the door, and he will do it. So you are much more curious to discover new things, and that helped a lot for Boca, and that's why our market is. 1/3 is US actually in the market.
And how many bottles? How many bottles of Boca do you make now?
We make 60,000 bottles of the whole range. 15,000 bottles are our top wine Boca, and then all the others together 60,000 bottles, and 1/3 goes to US at the moment. 1/3 to Italy, and 1/3 to the US, and then all the rest to the whole world. And in a way, we opened in every country of the world. We opened Boca for people. So and that was the work I did, 10 years work to say people that Boca exists. And now it seems to exist, at least in the good wine shops, in the good restaurants, where people are interested in wine. Our wines now are in, and that's a very, very nice thing.
And I hear people when I give lectures and we talk about Alto Piemonte, and people say it used to just be Gattinara, and now they say Gattinara and Boca. So
okay, this is a good sign, because of course Gattinara was always a little bit more known because of Travaglini and this strange bottle which they do. But now it's true that now people get it also that it's Boca, there's Lesona, there's Gemme. And it's very nice, and to have this different expression, it's to explore all these different expressions of Alto Piemonte is very nice for people.
I agree. Well, it's great wine, and first of all, compliments on your success of working so hard and so long, and rediscovering Boca. But I appreciate the time, but we're out of time. But this has been great, and what a great idea to go outside and go in the vineyards and. Again, it's a beautiful signal. No problems this time, and I hope everyone enjoyed it. So I know I did, and I need to get back. I haven't seen you for about 5 or 6 years, so hopefully in the autumn.
Good.
exact. So.
Yeah, hope to see you soon, or in Chicago, but better in Boca, of course.
I agree. So, and fingers crossed for a very successful harvest this year.
Thank you very much, and hello to US. So to all people there.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Buon lavoro.
Bye bye.
Buona giornata. Ciao.
Bye bye. Bye bye.